Welcome back, everybody, to the Dabs podcast. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. First of all, Merry Christmas, Thanksgiving, all of that. Happy New Year, everybody. How is everybody doing out there? I hope you guys all had an outstanding New Year's celebration. Into the new year. I love the new year. It's always new. It's always about resetting, recalibrating, getting yourself back to a good spot, and kind of resetting your mindsets and your commitment to your physical fitness as well as your mental and your spiritual. So I love the new year, and yes, we should always be about it. We should always be on top of our stuff. But let's get real. Sometimes life gets in the way. Sometimes life kind of pushes us into different directions, and sometimes you get taken off course. So I love the new year, and I hope you guys had a great one. For me, I just hung out, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, all that. I like to be home or at home somewhere with someone's home. I don't like to be out driving around on the street because, people be out there just doing the most. I'm not trying to throw any stones, but as you guys know, New Year's Eve is pretty dangerous. A lot of drinking and driving, a lot of reckless driving, and I don't remember if it was like rainy or I know it was cold, but I don't know if it was rainy or sprinkly. I don't remember, but it's always important to be cautious when you celebrate. And I remember just being at, you know, um, my girl's family's house, just hanging out, drinking, doing what we do, and then we welcomed the new year, and then we walked our butt to her apartment, which was like 50 yards or less, and knocked out. So it was a great thing, and hopefully you guys had a great one. So sorry for the lag. I know I've been like MIA for a little bit. Um, One of my New Year's resolutions is to get more consistent with this labor of love here, and to give you guys more content. You guys deserve that, more content. Give you guys a lot more branching out on the podcast this year. So I'm excited for 2023, baby. So I want to say thank you to my 100 subscribers. You guys are the OGs. You guys will always be known as the OGs. You guys are the ones that believed in me and believe in me now, even when this is just a small little labor of love that I got, and something that I don't even know what I'm doing, or what you know, what the end will be. But I know that it's about the journey, and I'm excited, and I love sharing, thoughts and opinions with you guys. I'm no sort of expert on any of these things that I cover. I'm just somebody who likes to talk, and those of you guys that know me, ever since I was young, I always like to talk in front of a camera. I didn't finish that sentence. I don't really love to talk unless it's in this kind of setting, you know. But yeah, I was always recording videos. I was always making music videos. There's some crazy stories about me making music videos, and my poor family that had to suffer there and support me while I was out there singing and living my dream and all of that stuff. As far as musically, even when was not musically inclined. So, but yeah, so I've been good. Can't complain. I hope you guys have been well. Your families have been well. It's pretty stormy and crazy out here in LA. For those of you guys that don't know, I am in what's normally sunny Southern California, but right now we have some sort of cyclone slash storm going on, and you guys already know we cannot drive in the rain. We cannot function in the rain. So be safe, and stay home if you can. The end of 22 was rough for a lot of reasons. I lost a lot of homies as well. A lot of work friends. Somebody that I've known for over 10 years, almost 15 years. And I can tell you that it's just, as everyone knows, right? Whenever you lose someone, especially unexpectedly, it's a different kind of pain. So, and I know I ain't the only one, right? We all go through this thing called life with grief, and the cycle of life continuing. There's a beginning, a middle, and the end. So we just don't know this. We do not never get to control when the end is. So, P.S. Make sure the people around you know that you love them. But what is this podcast about? Well, finally, for those of you guys that have been following me, you guys already know I've done a couple of Britney Griner podcasts, but finally I get to announce that she's home. So I'm happy about that. I am ecstatic that she's home. I'm relieved that she's home. I'm just, One, my homie, shout out to my homie Eloy, who told me that, at Eloy the Third on Instagram. I was just like, wow, thank you, Diosito, thank you, Lord, because I was worried, legit and concerned that, the next report that we would get from her or about her in Russia would be that she's dead. It wouldn't have surprised me at all if she would have ended up dead in Russia. So, in a Russian prison or penal colony, nonetheless. So, thank you so much to everyone, all the U.S. Diplomats, President Biden. I don't want to get too political, but thank you to everybody that actually worked to help get her free. It was definitely alarming to see some of the comments on any story that was Britney Griner related and Russia related, that people were very, let's just say they were kind of glad that that she was put over there. They were glad. They felt like she, deserved it. They felt like she, as, someone who protested what she sees. And, I think I, as a minority in this country, can also agree to, especially a black female, gay female in this country, can say a lot of unfair police brutality, a lot of systematic racism, a lot of things in this country that scream we are just not as advanced on race relations as we would like to think. I mean, do I really need to say all the names? I could say Sandra Bland. I can say, George Floyd. I can say, Dante. I believe, was it Dante Austin? Breonna Taylor. I don't want to miss anyone because I don't want nobody coming after me. You already know what it is. Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, even though that wasn't cops, that's another case that I'm definitely going to cover. Like, I love true crime. So I'm thinking I'm going to do a couple of podcasts on some of the crazy 2022 cases that really caught my interest and caught my eye. So Ahmaud Arbery, look out for that one. That one's going to be coming up soon. Even though it's an old case, it just fascinates me. But anywho, what the rundown is with Britney Griner. So she's free now. For those of you guys that don't know, that haven't watched my podcast, just to give you a little bit of a rundown of what happened, right? So February 17, 2022, she is detained in Russia at the airport for drug-related offenses, right? That's what it ended up being. And she was found in possession of hash oil vape cartridges, okay? They either sell them in half a gram or a gram. So she either had half a gram or a gram, and I think she had a couple half-gram cartridges. Like I said, very small amount. Interestingly enough, right, she was arrested on February 17th, and this was not made public until March of 2022. That's when, and then in May, right, so she gets arrested in March, gets thrown in there. You already know it's Russia, so it's not like they're going to follow due process over there. I don't care what they said or what sham kind of trial they wanted to put out there, or they put out there for us to believe. We know there was no due process going on out there. Just like, and I might ruffle some feathers on this one, but I'm just going to say it wouldn't surprise me if people who are from other countries, right, who were for whatever reason valuable to the U.S. military, I'm not saying that they would have 100% due process here in the United States. I don't know if you can say that, but I don't think that, Guantanamo Bay or, I forgot the name of the other one, where they were pictures of soldiers fucking up Iraqis and, a lot of Middle Eastern people, degrading them. I think there was a picture of one of them with a leash. It was the craziest shit. You guys know what prison I'm talking about. But yeah, so I'm just going to say it, right? And that's what I think it was at the end of the day. I think that she, in my opinion, ended up being a political pawn. She just so happened to be going there right when, right, Russia was either about to invade Ukraine or just had invaded Ukraine. But the U.S. and Russia usually not on good terms anyway, for most of the life I've been living, right? Definitely not at this time, because the U.S. was trying to tell Russia not to invade Ukraine and telling them there's going to be sanctions and we're going to punish you and we're going to, take issue and action if you invade Ukraine. So terrible timing, right? For those of you guys that follow WNBA basketball players, you know why they go to Russia, right? Because they make 4 times. Britney Griner makes 4 times the salary in Russia than she does in the U.S. I don't know how big the Russian women's league is. I know it's founded by a lot of billionaires. I know it's founded by a lot of Russian oil billionaires and tycoons that use the women's game to hide what they're really doing, right? And to make it seem like they're super progressive about women's sports. There's controversy onto whether or not they really care about women's sports, or like I said, they're just using it as a front, right? To hide what they're really doing, which I don't know what they're really doing, but I'm pretty sure it's illegal. But so after she got arrested, right, May 2022 was when the first prisoner swap was considered. So how was Britney Griner freed, right? For those of you guys who have not been living under a rock, she got freed because they swapped Victor Bout, who was a Russian arms dealer, with her, right? She was sentenced on August 4th, 2 days after my birthday. Pretty crazy. But she was sentenced to 9 years, 9.5 years to be exact, in a Russian penal colony. I remember when that wasn't a surprise, but when it first happened, you're just kind of like, damn, like this is not good. This is not looking good for Britney Griner. And like I said in my other videos, I understand that she broke the law, right? But 9.5 years in a penal colony, come on. That's more than a Russian national would get for the same offense, right? So it just doesn't, it's not in concurrence with their law. Excuse me. A couple interesting facts about Britney Griner. BG, not only is she a professional women's basketball player, she's an Olympic medalist, right? She represented the United States, right? And that should count for something in this country, right? As far as like, man, you went out there and you represented your country in your sport of expertise, and you went out there and dominated. And a couple of interesting facts. She's from Houston, Texas. She made headlines as a sophomore in high school because of her stat line. She averaged 23 points, 11 rebounds, 6 blocks as a sophomore in high school. And that's when she first started practicing how to dunk, which I remember when I was a young baller, we would see who could jump the highest. As girls, we knew we were going to dunk, but we always wanted to see who could touch the rim, who could touch the backboard, who could touch the middle of the square on the backboard, while the guys practiced who could dunk. But no, not Britney Griner. She was already practicing how to dunk. She was so the way she became like known, really, the video of her dunking in high school got sent to an NBC affiliate out there in Houston, Texas, and she went viral. After that, everybody wanted to talk to her. As far as everybody over there locally, they wanted to see who this young phenom was, and what she was about. Also, interesting fact, her dunk made it number 3 on ESPN's top 10. Not a lot of women can say that, right? She's the only player from the U.S. national women's team who played or who was a finalist for the team while she was in college. The only player who trying out for the U.S. national team who was in college. That says a lot about her skill set as a basketball player. She owns the no surprise on this one, she owns the WNBA record for dunks. She said it, owns it, broke it, right? She said it first dunk 2013 against the Chicago Sky. At that time, there was only 3 dunks ever in WNBA history at 2013. In that game, she dunked twice. Only female ever to dunk twice in a game. Crazy. This fact, this is why I feel like some people, some Americans, don't like her or feel like she deserved to be locked up in Russia. Some of the comments that I was reading on any story that had to do with this was, she's not American. She hates this country. Have her go stay in Russia. And I'm trying to figure out, why would anyone say that she hates this country? She plays for the national team, right? Why would she hate this country, right? Well, because she protested the national anthem in 2020. Let's get back to 2020. You guys remember 2020? That was a fucked up year. Why was it a fucked up year? Well, COVID, for once, right? We didn't know what it was. We didn't know what it could be. We didn't know anything. We just know something was cracking out there in Wuhan, China, and we hoped that it would just stay there. I mean, I did. As ignorant as that sounds, I hoped it stayed there. I didn't want it to come over here. And it started to, right? I don't know the timeline, but I know 2020 was when shit got real. And we had no idea. We as a country, we as communities, we as people, families, working people, had no freaking students, had no idea what was going on. Things were getting shut down. Shit was getting crazy. On top of that, we had a lot of young black males and females getting shot by police. George Floyd ignited the country. I mean, I worked in downtown LA at this time, and I remember the protest. I remember we had to take precautions. We had to change our operating plan at my job because Santa Monica wasn't considered safe anymore, because we had to understand that businesses were getting impacted not only by COVID, but by the social protests and all the activity that was going on in downtown and in all the downtowns and metropolitan areas in the country across the United States. Why do I bring that up? Because I think when you're going to say or bring up that someone protested the national anthem or protested police brutality, not necessarily protested the national anthem, but protested the part of the national anthem that says that we're all equal and that reemphasizes that that's America's belief, when we, as some of us agree, because not everybody feels this way, that what we were watching and what we were seeing on our TV sets was anything but. And that what we've been feeling as a people is anything but liberty and justice for all. And that's what she was protesting. And that's what's in her right, as many people protested, right? But that's what makes her someone who hates America? I don't think so. I don't think those two things coincide. I think you're exercising your right. We exercising our right to protest the fact that we don't agree, the fact that we see and we feel that these things are being swept under the rug or not being dealt with on a level that they should be, with people being held accountable, specifically law enforcement officers, the law, right? And we're just frankly tired of it, right? And that's where, and she wasn't the only one. She wasn't the one leading the protest, right? It was in conjunction. So and it's in her right. And I think that's the great thing about America, right? We have our First Amendment right to express and to protest peacefully, right? And respectfully. I don't even think respectfully is a thing. Peacefully, right? But yeah, she made comments, and she did say that the national anthem shouldn't be played maybe in sports events, and she quickly took that back again. If she wouldn't have got the backlash, would she have taken it back? I don't know. You'd have to ask her that. But she definitely took a couple steps backwards, with those comments. I understand why she made that comment. I understand why she felt the way that she felt, because she's not alone in feeling that way. She's not the only black person in this country that's felt that America doesn't love black people. And I'm not only referring to Kanye West. You guys remember that, right? Different president, same country, same shit, and same feeling. And a lot of people agreed with Kanye at that time, and still do now when it comes to that sentiment. And I don't think that feeling like that makes you un-American. I don't think feeling like that and expressing that makes you un-American. I think it is actually what makes you American. It's such an American thing to do, to not agree with something and speak about it and protest about it and feel like we need to be heard. But I don't think that you should be seen as a unpatriotic, that's what I was looking for, individual because of that. I think that's your right. So continuing on, right, in October of 2022, her appeal was rejected, right? They actually said they took 30 minutes to deliberate after her defense, put on their case. It took the court 30 minutes to come back and say, nope, everything is Gucci. Her conviction stands, and that's it, right? And in November, she was moved to one of Russia's most notorious penal colonies. It was revealed in reports that the Biden administration tried for months to make a prisoner swap. In June, that's when the U.S. officially offered Victor Bout for Griner and Paul Whelan. It's been reported that the Biden administration tried to get Paul Whelan into this deal, and Russia said no. So, a couple questions that I had, and that you might have, is who is Victor Bout, right? He is a Russian arms dealer nicknamed the Merchant of Death. He is a former Soviet military translator turned international arms dealer who had been imprisoned in the U.S. for 10 years. He manufactured and sold guns that that were instrumental in the Sierra Leone conflict in Africa, right? The diamonds and all of that stuff. So there was some sort of civil war going down out there. Sierra Leone and Angola were out there fighting, and he was known as what's called a sanction buster. His company manufactured and sold weapons to both sides of the war. And he's scheduled for release in 2029, which is in 6 years. So he got out 6 years early. Russia would not budge on Paul Whelan at all. For whatever reason, they treated both cases very differently. So who's Paul Whelan, right? And we all know he's now we know he's a Marine veteran, but what's the story with this guy? So he's a U.S. Marine War veteran who was sentenced to 16 years in a Russian prison for espionage, charges that he called a setup and the government called false. Just like the government said Britney Griner was unjustly detained, or wrongfully detained, they said that these allegations against Paul Whelan were quote unquote false. He served in the Marines and he deployed 2 times to Iraq, one in 2004 and once in 2006. The first trip, he had a great time. He actually fell in love with Russia. He visited Moscow. He did a lot of sightseeing, St. Petersburg, and he fell in love with Russia. In 2008, after he got promoted to staff sergeant, he was discharged from the Marines for bad conduct, specifically larceny, writing bad checks, and stealing somebody's social security number. In 2018, he went to Moscow to a friend's wedding because he was one of the few going to the wedding that knew the Russian culture, knew the Russian surroundings, and could be like a tour guide for his friends. He was arrested on December 28th by the Russian ISB, the state security agency, who accused him of being a spy. There were reports that he had been caught receiving a digital storage device containing a list of intelligence officials. You got to put the air bunnies when you're talking about Russia's reporting, right? This is a country that controls the information that their people get. This is a country that, I mean, come on, right? Also, speculation of motives for arrest, that Russia detained him to exchange him for someone. No surprise there. So, in other words, it's speculated that he was just another pawn, right? It was wrong time, wrong place. And they detained him to exchange him for Maria Butina, a Russian guns rights activist who was jailed in the U.S. in December 2018. She was deported back to Russia in October of 2019. Free of charge, with like no exchange. She was just deported back to Russia and released over there. Paul Whelan and his family deny his charges, right? Of course, citing his extensive knowledge of Russian culture and Russian customs. If he knew that doing this would get him locked up, why would he do it? That's basically what they're saying. And I mean, again, you'd have to ask this guy, and I'm sure he has a lot to say about his time in Russia and what led him there. But anytime you're dealing with a dictatorship or a communist country, or government, maybe in general, can you really trust what's being said? We'd like to think that our government doesn't lie to us, but we know that they do about a lot of things. That's another video, though. On April 27th, 2002, it's interesting to note that there was a prisoner swap done, but with U.S. former Marine Trevor Reed. He was freed in exchange for Russian national Konstantin Yaroshenko, who has been jailed for more than a decade for drug smuggling and charging. So this back and forth prisoner swap between Russia and the U.S. has happened a couple of times. And finally, on December 8th, Britney Griner was released on a one-on-one prisoner swap with Victor Bout. It is said that Russia would not even consider Paul Whelan in the deal. It was either 1 for 1 or none for none. That's pretty much what the Biden administration and what U.S. officials have said. They have said that as much as they've tried to negotiate for Paul Whelan, for whatever reason, it seems now that the U.S. doesn't have anyone in custody at this time that Russia wants to trade for Paul Whelan. They hold him in a whole different bracket, I guess, than anyone else that they have. And the U.S. doesn't have anything that they want yet for Paul Whelan. And, his family has sadly said that as much. They're like, hey, we're glad she's home. No, we don't have any ill feelings towards her being home. It's great that another American is free, right? But it's starting to seep into them that there's no one that they're willing to trade for him, and that's a sad deal. Man, I can't even imagine going to another country and getting stuck there. I mean, I don't know if you guys have all seen that show, that Locked Up Abroad. People, sometimes they know what they're doing and they get locked up abroad, and sometimes they don't. It reminds me of that movie Broke Down Palace, for all my 30-year-olds out there, all my 80s babies who were born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. Broke Down Palace was a movie with Claire Danes. I remember she was in it, and some other chick. And I remember that it's all fun and games, right? And so they meet this guy that one of the girls starts liking, of course, and they end up as drug mules, and they don't know they're drug mules, right? They got drugs in their suitcases and they don't know. And then they get caught up at the airport, and they both get thrown into jail, into a foreign jail. And spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, only one of them gets out. Claire Danes takes a fall for her homegirl so she can get out, realizing that One of them's going to have to stay. There's no way that that country and that they're going to convince that country that they were innocent. And it's just crazy. You never know what the situation is until you're in that situation, is all I can say. I know a lot of people are going to say, how did we free an arms dealer for Britney Griner? Well, number one, it's not like the guy was going to be here for life. He was going to get out in 5-6 years. And number two, if you can save a life, do you save it? Or do you let that opportunity pass you by? Because at the end of the day, let's say you say no. They still have her, we still have him, but he gets released. And what if he gets released early? We miss the opportunity to bring a American home. Whether it's Britney Griner, whether it's Paul Whelan, whether it's one of the other Americans that are in Russia unfairly detained. Somebody got to go home. And I'm glad it was her. I think it made me sad to see that so many people were happy that she was locked up, or like she deserved it, because no one makes mistakes, right? It was disheartening. But I'm thankful that the president got her out. I'm thankful that she has the opportunity to do something with this life. And there's a reason that she went through this trial and tribulation. And I just hope that she continues on this journey. I know there's a lot for her to heal from. Word is, I think I saw one grainy picture, but word is right before she got transferred to the Russian penal colony, they made her cut her dreads off. And like she has like a fade, like they cut all her hair off, which I know people who have lokes, and that's something that's very personal. When you cut them off, it's because you're ready to cut them off. And having someone make that call for you, especially, I'm sure it was done in a very difficult kind of way. I'm pretty sure she's been through some trauma. And yes, she took hash oil into another country. And hey, if this can teach anyone a lesson about being, you could say she could have been smarter with what she had on her person. If you believe that she had it on her person, which she admitted that she did, right? There was speculation early on that it was planted, but she pled guilty. She said she did it. She said she did it unintentionally. As someone who used to vape and might have taken oil when you travel, I'm not 6'9", and a lot of people use that stuff for medication, whether you call it bullshit or not. Some people, it works for their pain management, and it's better than taking pills that attack your kidney and kill your liver. You understand what I'm saying? So I guess what I'm saying is, don't throw stones. It's easy for us to judge. It's easy for us to say, I wouldn't have done something stupid like that, or I would have known better. But I think at the end of the day, if you're honest, we all know we make mistakes. That's clearly a mistake. She didn't kill anyone. She didn't hurt anyone. And she should be extended grace. And the crazy thing is that, some people have extended grace for more. So I'm very happy to report that Britney Griner is back. Like I said, at the beginning of her journey, I wish her the best of luck. I'm glad that everything turned out the way they did. And I pray that the government is able to figure out what Russia wants for Paul Whelan, and that they continue to get every single American that's wrongfully detained in a country home. Probably an unrealistic expectation, but all we can do is pray for it and do what we can to support that process. Thank you all for coming back. I really appreciate you guys sticking around. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment below. What do you think? Do you think that she should have spent more time in Russia? Do you feel like she was let off easy? Do you feel like, do you agree that it's a good thing that she's home, or do you not? Whatever your opinion is, it's your opinion. It's all good. Keep it respectful. Shoot it out in the comments. Thank you guys for coming back. For those of you guys who are not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it amongst all your homies, and let them know to come to the Dabs podcast if they want to listen to something entertaining, right? Entertaining. That's all I can really say. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. And we'll be seeing each other soon, all right? Happy New Year, everybody. Stay safe. And at the end of the day, it's all about trying to be a good person and be positive. Don't let the world make you cold, baby. It's a beautiful thing to be alive, and it's a beautiful thing to live another day and to breathe another breath of life. All right, y'all. Take care. I'll see y'all later. Deuce.